Good day, everybody. It would seem that we've run out of corn and human lives this week, and we are unable to pay Jelo and Demon Wolf. But we do have Jelo here in a non official capacity. So we aren't paying him, but reminder that slavery is illegal. So it is up to I, your resident village idiot, to host this week and to cover the action packed episode of Volume 12, or Volume 7, Episode 12. We're already off to a great start. RWBY's been pumping out those volumes. So, who do I have with me here today?
You have glucose.
I am Jelo, and I would like to say to Mr. Lightning Link that I refuse to host this until my payment comes through.
Oh, you got your pigment. I'm RWBY.
Alrighty then.
I would just like to say that Jelo has no rights and does not deserve corn.
I need
Alright.
something, okay? Give me something for this modding thing.
No!
You and fake corn.
Candy corn.
Candy
Take it or
corn.
leave it.
Candy corn's a fair substitute, in my opinion.
Mhm.
Probably
But you
one
can't
of the
have
best
candy
parts
corn
of
on, like-
Halloween.
Potatoes.
Alright, so I'm not going to hold that against you, because it's already gotten weird.
Mhm.
So we're going to keep
RWBY.
things a little out of order. Go from what we have perceived to be the least exciting to the most exciting this episode. And we're going to kick things off with...
Hello?
Hello? Did RWBY
Huh?
die?
No, they're still here.
Oh,
Oh, no. They muted.
Yay.
Oh, we're already off to a great start.
well, it seems your resident village idiot can't hold the podcast correctly. Well, we'll continue on. Everything can be fixed in post, probably. Alright, so we're going to start things off with the fight for the Relic of Knowledge.
Yes.
Alright. So, Oscar finally has some time to shine again.
And by time, you mean like 5 seconds.
Yeah, just
But
about.
Man, did he use them 5 seconds.
He did. For as unlikely that punch is to actually hit, I found myself just enjoying Oscar decking Neo in the face.
And
Got
that
that
just-
strong punch.
No stealth, no cap. Just ran in screaming like fucking mad as hell and just fucking knocked her flying down the hallway. We stand a skinny legend.
Honestly, it was a really solid slug. And we have had...
Oh yeah.
Oh, no.
It's one of the few hits that it lands on you.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, like I
but-
said, it's still kind of weird that actually happened, but again, I like it.
I mean, look, in Neo's defense, I probably would not expect a, skinny 14, 15-year-old farm boy to just come running down the hallway and deck me. Especially with that much force it sends me flying. So,
Moving fast.
That boy was grooving.
but I do have a quick idea that I want to raise to you guys. So, do you guys think that Neo cannot have her aura up while she's holding a physical illusion over herself? Because she didn't block that.
I think she still blocked it because she would have had a bruise on her cheek from the punch.
Bruises aren't instant, so
True, but like it does show when they're getting beaten up that
all right, yeah.
it is there to show damage. So I think she still had it, but she just can't keep illusions up if she's like physically attacked.
That is fair.
I can go either way at the moment.
I feel
Because
like
we haven't seen any illusion fight.
it's probably more open to interpretation, which is, a lot of RWBY stuff, because there's just not a lot they've given us. But it is probably fair, because her semblance is physical illusions, we do know that, and so,
I love how they made it like
that
cool
was...
effect.
Oh my gosh, that was really, really good looking. The shattering, I'd have to pull it up,
Mhm.
but the high frequency It didn't sound like glass shattering, but it was high enough to be glass shattering.
All right,
Right.
I'm
If I
Googling right now. I'm trying to find it.
if
What?
I remember right, the instrument that Alex uses for this is something called a water phone.
Yes, that is
Yeah, water
correct.
phone.
I
Yeah.
have never heard of that.
Neither have
I was part of a concert band in high school, and my senior year, we tried some really experimental whack crap. And one of the things we used was a water phone. It's a very interesting little instrument, if you can call it an instrument. It's
It
like
makes noise.
the best I can describe it to someone who's not in music. Imagine like a cone, but like the top half of the cone is cut off, and it's made of like the same stuff you make a wind chime out of.
Mhm.
Yeah, it's very strange. It's kind of influenced by like it's a percussion instrument technically.
so
Point
you-
is, it's very cool to see like this weirder, more obscure stuff. Like it's good to see that Alex is like not unwilling to be a little bit unusual in his choice of instruments and composition.
I mean, I think that kind of fits Neo's character, though. She is like one of the most obscure and mysterious characters. So,
Yeah.
obscure sound effects kind of suit it, in my opinion.
Well, I got something to ask you folks.
All right,
the
go
clip.
for
One
it.
of the things, yeah, one of the things that's kind of come up is to some people the relic of knowledge it looks somewhat faded, like it no longer has the power it did.
Yeah, so I
And
think
yeah, it's kind of gone either way of maybe Neo or even Oscar used it at some point, or it could just be the lighting.
so.
What if it's
There's
still
a
like amount of wishes?
yeah. So I think there's a couple ways to look at this. I remember in the waterworks uh, underneath Brunswick Farms, I believe that's its name, Brunswick.
Yeah.
Uh, that it was really dark and it was emitting light when it still had that one question left. But here, and you
Out in the open.
see, the blue portion does have this not necessarily glow, but it is brighter. But you get to this scene, and all the colors are faded, but the lamp does look darker. And you got to remember that Cinder's original plan was to find the Relic of Knowledge and figure out where the Winter Maiden was. So I'm in the camp that the final wish has been used up.
I think that's a pretty dumb use of the final wish, considering she's got to be somewhere around there. Like,
I mean,
I
look, Glucose, you know my stance on Cinder.
Could Neo ask a wish?
So,
I would
yeah, that's a really good point, too. I mean,
personally, I think she could
Sign
because
language.
no, I think Jin is just the kind of person creation, whatever she counts as, that's nice and will just kind of let that slide.
An entity.
And she's kind of shown some level of knowing what people want to ask before, because when Ruby summoned her at the end of Volume 6 against Bubbles, Jin just instantly knew. It's like, okay, I know you don't have a question, but good job.
Fear the almighty
Yeah.
Bubbles.
I thought his name was Levi.
We have
Nah, it's
Levi and
Bubbles.
Bubbles, and then for sure it's Kevin.
Kevin.
I'm holding
So,
out for
I-
Janice the woolly mammoth.
Janice.
Janet's nice.
Right, anyways, that's kind of where I think how Jin would do that with Neo.
Yeah, I mean, she's been said to be like the holder of all knowledge, or something along those titles. So it could,
Right.
like,
She might know
she-
sign language.
Well, yeah.
yeah,
Maybe.
But she'd
that'd be
probably
fun.
know what. That's probably how that works with Ruby as well. She knows what Ruby wants to ask or do at the time, so that is why she knew that.
But what if she still did like the genie trick thing when Ozpin asked his question way long ago.
What genie trick thing?
Well, like where it's all about the wording, because he asked, "How do I defeat sailing?"
Yeah, no, that's
That's-
also something that's
That's
been
kind of
raised
up in the
before.
air.
That's
Yeah.
up in the air.
Yeah, I'm not sure if that's a wording thing exactly or what. It
Because
I kinda
that's
feel
a
like that's
whole
the
conversation in of itself too.
exactly. I think the fandom has kind of overlooked that, or not overlooked it, but
Put it on the back burners for now.
Yeah.
yeah. Anyways,
There's a lot of stuff these past two volumes that I feel can just have their own 30-40 minute discussion.
they
Just
could.
yeah, but that's
Bonus.
all for another day.
Bonus.
Right, for now, this is just the setup for the fight. How do you think this is going to go?
Jelo, you're taking over my job.
Oh,
Slavery is
sorry,
illegal.
Abbott.
Okay, I will say my 2 cents on it is, everyone's saying because Neo's involved in this fight. Oh, she's gonna turn into Pyrrha to fuck with Team Juniper. Here's my take on that. RT could do that, but I'm not sure if they would, because from my point of view, it doesn't really make sense. Like, Neo has never interacted with any of the members of Juniper before. I feel
Yeah.
like I feel like it's actually going to be a straight up fight. And I feel like
Right.
Neo is gonna kinda not exactly stomp them, but like it's gonna be tough, but she'll kinda sneak off, maybe without the relic, and we'll see if it actually does have the question left or not.
Yeah, so
Pro Dodger.
if Neo does turn into Pyrrha, I think all it's gonna do is piss Juniper
John.
off. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, that's my thoughts because I don't know if I'm just more I don't know, think more logically, or I don't know if that's the right word, but more you get what I'm saying.
Yeah.
I think that a lot of times when there's that mind fuckery of, oh look, you're fighting your best friend that's dead,
Dun, dun, dun.
the characters fighting them will be like, oh, that's not actually my friend, they would never do this, they're dead, etc. This is just some
Yeah.
asshat wearing their face.
Like sometimes that can be
Something's
done
really
really
fun.
well, sometimes that can't be. I've seen it done well, I've seen it done poorly.
Right.
John over here, like, I just got over my trauma, fam. Why you going this low?
Yeah, no,
Yeah.
but I do want to give props to Samantha Ireland, because the sheer anger in Nora's voice and just those two lines is something I didn't think Nora could pull off.
Nah, voice
Samantha's
actors are all pretty great.
Samantha's definitely introduced a new depth to Nora this volume that I never thought we would see. So that's been
That
pretty wild.
that is in part to the writing giving her some more focus.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Nora Wintermaiden, it's happening, boys. I refuse to believe otherwise.
Gosh, I can't believe that meme went viral in less than an hour.
Hey, I've been with it since before the meme, so you can shut up.
I mean, there's I guess there's kind of some merit to it. I'm not completely on board with it. But
Speaking of
But we have a lot of fights coming up that are like,
Yeah,
oh, it's
no.
big. We also had a lot of good
This
fights
was-
this episode.
this episode was it fits the theme of drama build up, talk, action. Drama build up, talk, action. And
Right.
it-
They found a stride that works for them.
Yeah, as opposed to Volume 6, where there was definitely a lot of pacing issues the latter half of where the Atom
Right.
mecha fight took up. It's actually a Colossus. I think that took up like 5 episodes. That was just.
No, that was only the 3.
Was it 3? It felt like 5, but that just killed me.
Mm.
But moving on to the build-up of our next fight and the fight for the Winter Maiden.
Right.
Fight,
We've got
fight.
the some characters that are
Mhm.
really good and really bad. So coming in at negative infinity, we've got Cinder.
Hmm.
Penny's pretty high up there.
Did her powers increase?
So
Cinder,
Cinder?
I feel like
Cinder, I think that's
Yeah.
more of a maturity thing.
because like Volume 6, she showed some of her powers in the Neo Cinder fight, and then she just walks in blowing up doors, everything, and I'm like,
I
that's
feel like in the Neo fight, she was in hostile territory, you know, with a Spider Lady.
Mhm.
Right. I
But
think
she
she
probably
was-
didn't want to go, you know, scorched earth. But here she just doesn't care. You know, collateral damage is not a concern. So yeah, she's gonna cut loose a little bit. I mean, we saw in Volume 3 she can do some pretty wild crap. So
Mhm.
Yeah, no, she's just
That was
becoming
before
more
that.
familiar with her powers. She's growing with them. Like it's you. The
Right.
more you develop a skill, the more you more.
We got
it's more
Pirate
developed.
Cinder.
And that's kind of what I'm concerned about because in the past, the only thing that we've seen that's able to stand up to a maiden is another maiden.
Mm-hmm.
And unless Freya wakes up and has still got it after all these years, we're kind of in trouble because
Yeah.
anyone else that gets it will be brand new to it.
And something tells
they'll
me
just
that
be like,
Freya
wing it in.
absolutely does not still have it after all these
all right,
years.
young lady, it's time for me to break your ankle. She just steps out of the fucking machine, just cracks her knuckles.
Let's have this
Let's go.
boomer put this millennial in her place.
Fucking Zoomers have no respect for their elders.
While I would love to see Cinder just being beat down in such a fashion,
I don't.
think
It's not
something.
gonna happen. There. Okay, I promised I
Got
would contain
Penny.
myself. I'm behaving as a host. I'm behaving. RWBY has there's some sort of favoritism towards Cinder. I don't know the motivation behind it. Don't know the reason.
I have a few ideas.
I have ideas too, but I'm not gonna
I think
vocalize
it's-
them. But Cinder's definitely gonna come out on top, or something's gonna happen that she's gonna scamper off and live
She's
another
not
day. Yeah.
Okay, I
Pretty much the
think
feeling we get.
I don't think she's gonna lose in the sense that she's not dead or anything, but I don't think she's gonna get the Winter Maiden powers.
Yeah, and I'm hoping that's the
Because
case.
how do you have two maiden powers? Do you have like one with each eyeball?
Well, she's only got one
Um,
eyeball, so
well, yeah,
Even more impossible.
considering
Two-color
that,
eyeball.
yeah, considering that Cinder is going after the maiden again, she's got to have some way to contain both of them, and I assume that's through the Grim.
yeah.
Uh,
So
pers-
ultimately, I think it's gonna end up with Winter probably foregoing the use of this is the bloodlust in me talking, but I would love to see Winter foregoing the use of the machine and just stabbing Freya, and Freya
Yikes.
being like, "Yo, what up?" and their eyes locking and the power transferring.
Yeah.
Yeah, that is
Because that'd be
brutal.
the most efficient way.
It would be the quickest.
Yeah, it'd be the most efficient and be the quickest. But and Penny hold off because Penny's got the most combat power right now.
Right.
She's got her super laser swords. She's so cool.
I definitely think that between Cinder, no, not Cinder, Winter and Penny, they have a fighting chance and they can stand up to her for a while.
Mm-hmm.
But it's, again, no one can stand up to a maiden, really.
Yeah, and we saw that
They
with
can.
in
How long
Volume
will it
3,
last?
especially because in
Mm.
Volume 3 with Ozpin, did not last
Exactly.
very long, and Ozpin was portrayed to be one of the strongest hunters.
So another little thing that I thought of that's not good is I'm getting slightly ahead of ourselves, but
Go
Ruby's
for
done
it.
with their fight hate at the moment, and it's Ruby and Weiss that are going to try and get the maiden, correct?
Right, they're going to try and secure the maiden.
Well, the
Okay.
problem right now is that it seems that Salem has put a kind of block on the Silver Eyes. That's
I
not going to
don't
help.
think it was necessarily a block on the Silver Eyes. Um,
It was
was I here
destroying of
last
her
episode? I think. Yeah.
mindset.
No. Yeah.
I
So
was.
I can't remember. I'm so many levels deep in irony. I have no idea what's going on anymore. But Wolf, who raised a good point of
He did.
that Salem, kind of blocked the mindset because the end of Volume 6, we saw Summer. I was here when we talked about this. It's coming back to me. Summer
we
being that ideal huntress and ultimately being that trigger for the Silver Eyes. But
correct.
when.
And here,
Yeah.
yeah,
But RWBY had that mental breakdown because Salem pulled out the no you card. I'm sorry, Jelo, I'm interrupting.
yeah.
I'm getting
Sorry,
excited.
I'm excited too. Now the point that I'm making is Salem did bring out that whole talk about Summer and all that, and I think it's because of that RWBY no longer has this ideal image of Summer. Summer has now become less of the focus and anchor point that RWBY has, and she can't just get that back.
Mhm.
If
She's
my
going-
mom couldn't do it, how am I supposed to do it?
Yeah, no.
In a way, yes.
Yeah.
I would phrase it a bit more dramatically, but yes.
Yeah, and that kind of
was able
helps.
to
That
get
fits
back on
in
her feet,
with
though.
RWBY's self doubt that we saw earlier this volume too. So
What were you saying, Ruby? I'm sorry.
oh, we've got 2 RWBYs in here. Help.
Yeah. Ruby was saying something. What were you saying, friend?
I've forgotten.
Ooh.
It happens.
Well, if
I'm
it
also a
comes
little
up,
bit
just
distracted because I found like a really funny screenshot of this. I'm just like skimming through the episode to look at the points we're trying to think to see
no,
if
and that's fair. That's
Yeah.
a good way to jog your memory.
if anything comes up, just say so.
I can bring up any points.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Another
Now
speculation
we got
I've
the
seen.
older people.
Oh, yep. Go on. Yeah. So another speculation I've seen is Winter gets the Winter Maiden powers. Winter dies, and then it gets transferred to Weiss. But that's just there's just so much speculation you could do about this kind of point. You just get to a point of where you're reaching.
I don't like this idea personally. I've always been, maybe not always, but for a long time been against RWBY becoming the Maidens, and if they do, it would be endgame kind of thing.
I don't like that idea either.
It's just like
And as we
they have
saw,
silver eyes, and it would be better if they were fighting against the Maidens instead of just like, here's your power, now go win.
Mm-hmm.
exactly, that is why I dislike it.
Because
It's magic power-ups instead of earned skill and thought and strategy.
I don't know if I know Glucose watches anime, but there's something in the shonen genre called the escalation problem,
Yeah.
where like you've got an increasingly powerful antagonist, and in order to keep the series interesting, so and then you have to
Right.
continually power up the characters. So if RWBY does that, I'm afraid you'll get more powerful Grimm, more powerful enemies, and it just becomes too much to bear, and it just becomes even more crazier than it is, because I currently like the status quo. It's really interesting, and I don't want to turn them into these Mary Sue self-insert type things. But we're getting really off topic. So let's get into what I think was the absolute best part of the episode, but I know many are going to disagree with me. RWBY versus the Aesops.
I loved this with all of my heart. This was
Yes.
just a smackdown badassery.
Weiss finally wins!
And guess what, Hit? I was right. This was teamwork against skill.
Yeah, this was teamwork against skill and teamwork against
fucking
you just
tilting.
Yeah, no, you kind of reiterated my point, Jelo. I don't even know where I was going with that.
I mean, I want to point something out. People are like, The Aesops are trained specialists. They shouldn't have lost. Here's the thing: if you watch the fights again, like it, I was in that camp too at the start, but then I watched the fights a few more times. What RWBY did was they divided and conquered.
Mm-hmm.
They did.
Because-
They were so smart here, and I love Ruby, the girl specifically here, so much for just how she played Harriet. She got into her head so easily.
Yeah, I think Harriet and Ruby were the worst matchups, but
They were, but at the same time, Harriet would just run around everyone else.
yeah, they were the
Like, Weiss
worst and
can
best
divide-
matchups.
Yeah. Weiss can divide and conquer with. She can divide Marrow's attention because it's become clear that his semblance can only affect things in his line of vision.
Mm-hmm.
So if he's not looking at Weiss, he can't freeze her. If he's not looking at her constructs, he can't freeze them.
All right.
Then
And that was a nice little tidbit because we haven't seen that before. We only saw Marrow using Stay. I think we've seen it
Stay.
twice now against the centipedes.
Yes.
No, they're called sentinels. And in that
Sentinels.
Krauls at the rally. And they were
Yes.
all in his line of vision. So that was really neat, in my opinion.
Mhm. I really liked the
fight.
the knight in this instance and how it was used. It just very much felt like this kind of boss enemy that
He's
Ruby
just
can
so-
just pull
Oh,
out.
what's the name? It's like, isn't it Armor Gigas?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's
So
the armor
cool.
of Jaquez Schnee, not Jaquez, Nicholas Schnee.
Like- Great
Mhm.
grandpa.
Right.
pops.
Which don't we see at like a few episodes back on a portrait during the meeting?
Yeah, we
Yeah.
do, and that was a really good portrait. I really like that portrait though.
The lad.
But in Marrow's
He was
defense,
nice.
though, he wasn't
Jock was
giving it
not.
his all. So
Yeah, that was the other thing. Half of the Aesops were just angry and out of it, whereas Vine and Marrow they really didn't seem to want to do this.
Yeah.
Like Marrow more so than Vine, but Vine was
Oh,
still like
yeah.
keeping a cool head about it. It's like, hey, like,
Harriet. was
Oh, you mean
upset.
albino Luffy?
yeah, albino Luffy is. Yeah, he's just
Ugh.
big chilling in the corner over there, and then Yang fucking game ended him.
I loved seeing they went back to like the team moves and stuff.
Yeah, and they
Yeah,
didn't.
it was
Yeah,
awesome.
and it was definitely an improvement too of the teamwork because they didn't have to do any callouts, which was
They just knew.
that
Right.
they knew and they read off of each other, and I just got shivers and I'm getting goosebumps now thinking about
it
it.
was so the best because like when they started teaming up, immediately the music kicks in.
Yes,
Like when they get that new
the-
determination.
That was the
Yeah, it was
best song this volume.
I
War.
disagree.
No? Oh, let's hear it. I want to hear it.
I will still say that The Storm is the best song in this
Okay,
volume.
That's fair, but you're a unforgiving Ironwood stan.
And we have
Yeah.
one more,
Mm-hmm.
even more music, and then the end credit.
Mhm. This I can't decide between Storm and War just yet, because Storm is a very powerful character piece, but on the other hand, War is just fucking badass.
We just haven't had a good character theme in a while is the reason I like The Storm so much. It's like, back in volumes 1 through 3, I think every one of the main, at the time, the main 8, except Jean, had a character theme.
Does John have? a
John
character
doesn't
theme?
have a character theme yet. Ren
he has
doesn't have a
2.
character theme yet. John?
He shares them with Pyrrha.
Yeah.
Just like
Yeah,
Ren
Forever
shares.
Fall and Shine, I think you could argue.
And Cold.
Cold? I haven't. Okay.
John's one is Shine.
Cold is also shared with Monty as well.
Mm.
Pyrrha has 2. That's what's hilarious. But again, we're getting off track.
We are.
But nah, RWBY versus Aesops. Another thing I like is, again, y'all mentioned it before. People are complaining like, "Oh, Team RWBY are mind reading." It's almost like these guys have been friends for almost 2 years now. Have been
Mhm.
working together on a close personal
training.
basis, and kind of understand how
Yeah.
how they synergize with each other.
Mhm.
Because that's
We
a
even
thing.
saw like what a year of difference of training has made with like Team Coco way back in Volume 2. They didn't do anything, but they were able to cover each other and deal with Grimm effectively.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And that was when they weren't doing that good, apparently.
Yeah, and keep
Apparently
in
so.
mind that Coco, or not Team Coco, Team Coffee was still in school.
Coffee.
Team
Yeah.
Coffee was still in school. Team RWBY's been in the field for 2 years.
Mm-hmm.
I don't
Almost
think
3
quite
years.
2 years, but
It's
close enough.
1.5, 1.75, roughly.
Yeah.
Roughly that. I mean, they've all had their birthdays.
Yeah, I feel like
So
it's
we know
close
that.
to. It's like somewhere around 2 years. We haven't hit 3,
We haven't
but we're
hit
somewhere
3,
around there.
but we're
Yeah.
past 1. So
We're past 1 for sure because we saw that in Volume 3.
Hmm.
The question is, everything is winter now in the past 2 volumes, so we can't tell time.
yeah.
Alright.
Anybody else have any comments about that fight?
The visuals are amazing, and
The choreography
okay.
was definitely really good. I do want to mention though, what drove Harriet to be so relentless? Because she
Oh, she
just
just
kept
gets so
getting
angry.
back up and getting back up to the point where even
That-
though she had her handcuffs used against her, she was ready to charge. I think she was ready to charge right through Weiss's wall to go.
Okay. Here's what I don't get about her. She
Why?
says I had you pegged from the start. And yet if you go back to the beginning of this volume, she is one of the Aesops who is the nicest to Team RWBY.
Huh.
Like she and
Elm.
I think Marrow were like the ones that actually like socialized with them and
Yeah.
treated them with some respect. Like Elm was just like, "Ha, silly children."
Yeah,
And she's like, I don't have friends, I have coworkers.
I
Yeah.
think that
Yeah, I
was
think that
Harriet.
might be it.
That
I
was
think
Harriet.
I think Harriet might see herself in the Aesops as better than Team RWBY, and they're not made of the strong enough stuff to do what's needed.
And
Yeah.
that's that corny line of, "Can you think you can beat us? We're the best huntresses in Atlas. You were until you trained us."
I don't
Okay.
think that's corny. I loved Ruby there.
I mean, it fit her, but I think it's kind of corny. But like
I liked it.
it is absolutely something Ruby would say,
I
and
mean,
I did
don't
like
get me
it.
wrong.
Who
It
would
is a
love to-
really good line, but it's corny as hell.
Who
Okay,
wouldn't want to say a line like that before fighting like people
I
who you
would-
thought were friends?
I
Awesome.
would have left it just you were, and went from there.
Mhm. Yeah.
But that's just me. That's me
Right.
being a minimalist. I would just be like, "Oh, you were," and then sucker punch because why the fuck do you just go for honorable combat here? Also, Ruby smashed a door with her face. Can we just talk about that?
What's there to say?
saw
Ruby
that,
smashed
but,
door
like,
with face.
She's fucking bullying, dude.
she's.
I love all the.
I think it's a fairly
comedic
common
white
headcanon. It's
parts.
probably not even a headcanon at this point, but Ruby just probably ran into a bunch of stuff as a kid with her semblance.
Pow!
She probably had a bunch of whole blunt force trauma problems.
Ooh.
I love all of the funny Weiss moments in this volume.
Sassy Weiss has been the best.
Sassy Weiss, just like when they're all caught and she just like drops Marrow's legs.
Oh, that reminds me. We haven't even talked about that.
Mm-mm.
This was the other thing that I really enjoyed. It's that Maria and Pietro were running around the corner, and Maria had the scroll of the wanted posters. This
Mhm.
tells me that they were coming to talk with Ironwood. I know I say that I love things, but I love the idea of Maria walking up to General Ironwood and chewing him out.
Oh yes, I'm here for it. I
I would
absolutely am here
love
for
to
it.
see that too.
Mm.
I mean, Sassy Granny
Best grandma.
hijinks is something I live for.
Just reaches up and grabs him by the ear. She just stands on Pietro's shoulders and just tugs him by the ear.
Oh, this does
Awkward.
make me wonder how they're going to help. Because no offense, but they're old.
Yeah, no,
Mm-hmm.
no, but they did
I-
mention they were.
They're
going
gonna
to
give
help,
like
so-
advice or like do some sneaky things.
Yeah,
So
I'm sure they have something planned.
we briefly mentioned it, but I want to know what everybody's thoughts on, because I think this was the strongest we've ever seen Weiss go with her semblance. Because
Yes.
her right
Shit, how
here, I'm not even going to try and pronounce the name of it.
Marinaster?
Mirnaster,
Mertnaster, yeah.
Mertnaster.
Oh God.
It is
I don't
just
even know how to
a
say it. That's what I was going
magic
for.
focused wand. I think her semblance is
Mhm.
absolute bullshit, practically. Like, okay, not necessarily bullshit, but I think it's just
It's a
extremely dynamic.
Like
It's
you can just
way
make
too
anything you
versatile.
want.
Yeah, no, like she can just, it feels like she can just pull shit out of her ass.
I've said
Yeah,
multiple
kinda.
times that, like, from a objective standpoint, if you look at all of the main characters of the show, Weiss is a strong argument for having the strongest semblance out of anybody in the show.
No, and
Mhm.
that's you can't. I don't think there's a solid argument against that, and I will argue for that any day
There's a
of the
lot of
week.
I think like the main issue is that we don't see her reloading Marinaster enough to show
Mm-mm.
that she can do all this stuff. It just appears that she's magically doing it because she's just like her glyphs are somewhat limited to the elements and like they run out, so she doesn't have an infinite supply because then that's overpowered, like you say. But there's
See,
no like we never see her like try to reload or dust or like run out of dust, so we think she has infinite. So
that
we
could
know
be an interesting.
she has like the gravity and push that are just seem to be like those that don't cost anything, maybe.
No,
Hmm.
because she had Marrow on the ropes the entire time, and I just I don't. It was a great fight to watch, but
Hmm.
the semblance I think is just cheese. It's
I think this is also the most she's ever used her
it
semblance.
has,
She
and it
had
just rubs me the wrong way.
spikes, wind, and
Hmm.
armor, bro, all up at the same
She
time.
I think the best way to describe her would be, uh, if you're familiar with MMOs, would be a mage.
Yeah.
Hmm.
And
But
because
hey,
the
she won
amount
a
of
fight.
because the amount of crowd control she pulled out this episode was ridiculous.
Mhm.
But
Was it just?
no, go
Sorry.
on, go on. No, everybody
Was
get
it
their
just?
kicks in.
Was it just me, or did it seem like Harriet's whole thing on like the early episodes are like your semblance special just disappeared? Like it was just
No, I
like
don't think it did, because if you remember last episode, Ruby divided in two and split around the
Mhm.
desk.
which
No,
she's like she's done
she,
before.
Hmm.
It's just like
no, it's
I got
just
the feeling that it was like there was going to be some reveal about her semblance.
I think it's
well,
going to
no,
be
that's
explored more in the future, but we just haven't had time to deal with it right now.
right.
Hmm.
This is the reveal. What I'm looking at is Ruby just thought of it as speed, and at times, yes, she would be able to split bow as more of an unconscious thing. Now that she's practiced it, she's able to do it on command, and you can see that she uses it pretty well. Right in this episode, when Harriet goes to handcuff her, she looks behind her. Again, I love Ruby in this moment. Takes the handcuffs, does the splitty whoop-de-doo, and handcuffs Harriet in return.
Hmm.
So that is what I see as that paying off as.
Yeah.
Oh, it was so nice to see the Yang fire hair appear this episode.
Mm.
We saw that teased in the intro. We finally got that.
She still hasn't fired off any fireballs like she hasn't in the intro.
Yeah, she's used a lot of those sticky
Those
nades.
yeah, whatever you want to call them. Those
I
Yeah,
think in
those
every
really
fight she's used them.
they really surprised me actually. I didn't think they'd be as interesting as what they have been.
Again, I would just like to say I predicted this weapon change. A long time ago, I wrote some garbage, and I was like, huh, if Yang got an upgrade, what would it be? And I'm like, oh, it'd be fucking two-step goodbye from Fallout New Vegas. And what did Rooster Teeth do?
You know,
I'm a prophet. I'm just saying.
I mentioned it in the episode when I was on here right before we got the weapon upgrades. I hoped she got wrist rockets so I could dub over, watch those wrist rockets from the OG Battlefront 2.
Battle-
But we didn't get
Watch
that,
those wrist rockets.
and I'm very sad.
I mean,
Poor
they might as well.
Whiskey.
They're close enough.
Anyway, I think that's just about everything. We
Oh, we forgot
from-
one thing.
Well,
Did
no,
we
there's,
now?
there's more. We
Is
still
there?
have the last 5 minutes of the. Oh, actually 6 minutes.
Well, I'm
episode.
talking about that fight. No,
yeah.
but let's talk about
Himbos United.
Let's talk about probably the most controversial and I think probably the most powerful part of the episode, in my opinion.
Yes.
We've got Crow, Tyrion, and Clover.
Obligatory praise, Jason. Let me just start by saying that no matter what you think of this scene, no matter whether you think it's convoluted or contrived or not, Jason, like King, is your back all right? Like his acting carried this.
Okay, yeah, no, I want to talk about Jason for a moment, even though that's, kind of not in our rough outline. Jason, I miss Vic. I liked his raspy whiskey voice. This is me talking about his talent, not about anyway.
Right.
But I miss that raspy whiskey voice, and even occasionally I'll go back and watch a couple episodes, and I'm like, wow, I miss this. But Jason has done an amazing job. The first couple episodes, I was not on board with it, but this episode sold me so well. Because those screams, they are just
Primo
great.
Jason.
Yeah.
And,
Jason does. He's shown a good bit of range with Crow's voice,
and I
that's what I'm liking
hate
from it.
myself for not remembering it. But if you guys have ever watched the OG Evangelion dub, okay, nope, I remember his name now. Spike Spencer.
Spike Spencer. That's a cool name.
Voiced Shinji Ikari in the OG Evangelion dub, and those screams still haunt me to this day. Jason has done the same thing here. You could just hear the despair and the pain in his voice. It is just so good.
Someone, please help Crow.
Now that being said, we can get back to the emotional impact of all this later. But let's
Yes,
just break
for now-
down everything we thought about this.
Can we start with Tyrion wearing a hat?
Yes.
Hat boy.
Tyrion.
It was such a small thing, but it just fits so well.
Tyrion is
He's
proving
so
to be-
crazy. He slapped his thumb. Ah!
I love Tyrion.
I mean, that thumb, honestly, I gotta feel like it's both tame and not tame, because on one hand, this kind of thing hasn't been a RWBY thing before, yet at the same time, it's certainly not anything special for Tyrion.
Mhm.
Anything
Okay.
Tyrion does at this point really won't surprise me. Just because
This
of
is
how
fair.
He drinks from his tail.
it wouldn't surprise
Ew.
me, honestly. Like, Tyrion has continued to be one of my favorite characters to watch.
He's a psycho.
Well, and that's Tyrion is a fun villain.
Mm-hmm.
And someone
really-
on this server said that. I believe it was Saya who said that. But he's the fun kind of villain because you don't know what he's going to do next. You're always on the edge of your seat when you're watching him. And he's just got these moments of, I'm getting excited about Tyrion, I did this last time. But he's got these moments of lucidity, and he's got these moments where he's just unhinged. And him just taking over the bullhead wearing that captain's hat and praising Salem was just amazing, and I want to see more of it.
Agreed. I think we're getting slightly.
No, because praising
Uh,
Tyrion is always on topic.
No, I meant slightly ahead.
Can I?
This entire sequence of these three was very controversial. So
Do we want to do that, because that kind of violates one of the rules, or is this immune to the rules?
Am I able?
no,
to
I'm not talking about
think?
that part. I'm talking about more the logic of this.
Okay, no, I can get down with that. I can jive with that.
Right. So I suppose the first thing that can kind of be called out is Robin for starting the fight. Personally, I think this makes complete sense for her, and perhaps maybe she shouldn't have done it playing with Tyrion there, but again, this makes sense for her. Robin is a very brash character, and she realizes that after Ruby's call, Ironwood has flipped his shit, and Ruby and friends are the best people in a position in order to stop him. So if Clover is going to try and arrest Crow, she needs to stop that and get some way to stop what Ironwood's doing.
And it doesn't help that, as people were saying, Tyrion was egging them on.
Mhm.
It fits him perfectly. So that just added
What?
oil to that tense fire, that raging
Why did
fire.
he do it after that one line?
Why did he do that? I
Why
mean,
did Crow?
no, say it. Go on.
Why did Crow like team up after he said the one line of like, let's like put the little kid to bed or something? I can't remember
Okay.
exactly.
I know I'm kind of monopolizing this, but I have thought a good bit about it, and these are my things. So
Well,
for
no,
this,
go ahead and hog this, and everyone can, either, do a this to be honest or rebuke you as we need.
right. So for this, we need to kind of go back to how first Crow and Clover are fighting and after the crash. Now, Clover, he's trying to arrest Crow. This is what he was ordered to do. Clover follows orders.
Mm-hmm.
Now, but this all makes sense. Crow resists, etc. But what kind of starts to be questionable is as soon as Tyrion shows up, Crow runs off to fight him. This makes sense. Tyrion is the psychopath. However, at this point, Clover decides to try and harass Crow instead of Tyrion. And this is, again, this is where this whole debacle truly starts. So for this, it's Clover is, again, he's following orders. This is what he's been told to do. So I think what his logic is that Tyrion had just been kicked the shit out of, so his aura has to be low, right? Crow, on the other hand, he's a great fighter and all that. I think what Clover was trying to do is get them to wear each other down, because that is a lot of what Clover is meant to do. Kingfisher is a very harassment-esque weapon. It binds, it slows, etc. What he, I assume, didn't account for was Crow to team up with Tyrion. Now, for this one, it's quite a lapse in judgment, perhaps, but it's one that makes sense.
Yeah.
Here, I think what is happening is Crow, he feels betrayed largely because he has known Ironwood for a long time. He's so friends with him, and now that's happening. His nieces and all the other children of his babysitting service are in danger to be arrested as well.
Babysitting service.
Yes, Crow's babysitting service. Right. But there's that, and what Crow's thinking here is he will be unable to fight on two fronts, especially when one of those fronts is just trying to, again, slow him down and harass him. He doesn't know how that will end. But since Clover is being such a so-and-so and not willing to focus on the crazy guy, Tyrion's like, okay, I'll team up with Tyrion for a minute, knock out Clover, and then I'll go and wipe him up again because I'm able to do that. He's out of aura, etc.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I just rewatched the clip that we're talking about, and your points are definitely coming across. Like, Crow goes for Tyrion right away, very focusing on, hey, this is a psychopath that we should deal with, and then we can have our little, like, justice, like, dispute fight.
Mhm.
And you can even see that when first Tyrion proposes the idea, Crow goes for Tyrion. Like, he's like not going to trust that. But in that moment, Clover attacks him. So then he's like, all right, I better team up because
Right.
this ain't working. And now he doesn't have to worry about his niece and the bad luck. So goodbye, Tyrion.
Goodbye.
Right, so
Why
I
did
don't like that. I don't like the idea of putting blame on anyone, but if I were to do it, I'd say it'd be towards Clover for being so strict in his thinking of.
If I can speak,
Go for it.
Go ahead.
Of course.
I think that Crow was actually the smartest person in the situation. And hear me out.
Nope, I already agree with you.
Yeah, Robin and Clover both seem to be operating on the idea that Tyrion was not in the fucking airship with them. Like, it's just like they kind of were so mad that they forgot that, oh yeah, there's a serial killer with us. While Crow is
Oh.
kind of like, yeah, you fucking idiots. There's a serial killer with us. And then when said serial killer shows up, I think the closest thing he did to something dumb was he came in there and decided, you know what, I'm going to try and work with Tyrion. And at the same time, you know, what was he going to do? Like, Clover didn't seem interested in working with him. So it's not like he could have just said, hey, Clover, let's take care of this guy, then we'll deal with it. And, you know, even if he did, Clover's semblance cancels his out. So it'd be a skill fight. And, you know, Crow probably doesn't want to take a chance with that. He seems like the kind of guy to use every advantage he can get. He was probably thinking that he could get Tyrion worn out because he's beaten him twice, actually. So theoretically, he'd be able to beat him again once they beat Clover. His only mistake was he kind of forgot where Harbinger went.
Yeah, that was something there.
Yeah, that was okay.
I'm
That
afraid
was
I
one
have
of my
to
biggest
something.
gripes was him throwing Harbinger away.
I will say though, however, even without
his
Harbinger,
punches.
Tyrion could kill him.
Yeah, no, because Tyrion has a third natural weapon of his tail. I guess that's just an advantage. I forgot how to English for a moment. An advantage of being a faunus with his tail.
Yes.
Robotail.
So, I'm going to go off on a bit of a tangent. Glucose Jelo, you've already kind of covered my thoughts, but it's a bit of a different type. Tyrion was definitely there. Robin kind of started a fire. Clover accelerated it. And then Tyrion just added oil. I like Crow. I like how Crow was the one who was ready to just diffuse things, or trying to diffuse things, at least because he's like, hey, we're in a confined space. This is not the place to fight.
Points to Crow.
So, but then things just kind of, I don't really understand what was going on in Robin's head. I kind of do, but at the same time, it's kind of hard to get a grasp on her character. She's just been she's been an interesting character this whole volume. So interesting in the way that I just have a hard time understanding her motivation sometimes. Is kind of what I'm going for. So her attacking first, especially that quickly, was gave Tyrion the opportunity he needed to escape, kill the pilots,
Put on the hat.
be the captain
Put on the
now.
Most important thing.
Yeah, and then praise the goddess.
Cinder
So
wouldn't have put on the hat.
no, Cinder's not fun. Tyrion and Watts are fun.
Hmm.
So that being said, that fight, the following fight of there's just I don't think there was a right decision to make.
Yeah, I can see that at that point. And honestly, I think that's a lot of the theme of this finale is there's no
There's no one right answer.
Mm-hmm.
yes.
So
There-
yeah,
There's just levels of wrong.
no, because I like the trope of the friend of or the enemy of my enemy is my friend, and you don't see it backfiring in the way it does, like this. So
Hmm.
I don't think I've seen it backfire this harshly before, if ever. So that was surprising, but extremely pleasant to see at the same time, because RWBY has been accused of being this extremely tropey show.
Hmm. It uses tropes a good bit, and part of that is because there's so goddamn many tropes you
Yeah.
can't avoid them.
You can't like.
But at the
not
same time,
uncool.
it puts the effort in to subvert them.
Yeah, and they've done that really well this volume.
Like that was
Mhm.
shocking.
Yeah. So I'm in the minority of this, but I do want to hear everyone's thoughts of what they thought of Clover's death. I'm not too particularly shaken up about it. I was never too attached to his character.
About the same here.
I shouted a very loud "oh fuck," but I think that was more from the gruesomeness of the scene than anything else. I gotta say no. I'm not really attached to Clover either.
Uh-oh.
The biggest amount of feelings I got from this was Crow's reaction and what is done to him.
All right, so unfortunately, Glucose had to dip early.
Mhm.
Oh.
Unfortunate.
All right.
But go on, Jello.
Right. So yeah, I think it's a lot more about Crow here than it is Clover. They were close friends, or perhaps there was a romance. Interpret that however you wish. I can see it both ways at this point.
So everyone thought during like that. What was it when he said he had good luck?
Mm-hmm.
Just like,
Yeah. No, and there were
raise the sails.
there were a
Mhm.
couple neat little things, like Clover not flicking his shamrock before he fought,
Mhm.
like he normally does.
I hadn't noticed that.
Yeah,
So maybe Crow's semblance took over.
yeah,
Mm,
That's a
I
stretch.
don't know.
yeah. It's a stretch because
It doesn't seem too much bad luck as shit happens.
Yeah,
I did. While you guys were talking about something, I tried to look at, like good luck charms.
mm-hmm.
What happens when they get covered in like defiled, pretty much? Like if
Yeah.
that's a thing.
All right.
Because there was like I don't know if that was just an artistic choice or that could actually be like a kind of symbolism thing.
Both?
Maybe.
But did you find anything?
No, it just kept bringing up Lucky Charms.
Oh my gosh, the irony.
Oh,
Like, I
that
don't want cereal.
Oh,
that reminds
Why
me.
is there blood in your cereal?
If Crow and Clover as a ship are Lucky Charms, then Tyrion really is a serial killer.
as much as I would love, I'd like to discuss the controversy about the fandom reaction, but we're not going to, simply because it's not a safe topic
Yeah.
right now without
Mhm.
any
That.
promises of getting heated. Uh,
Mhm.
but like we said earlier, like I said earlier, huge props to Jason.
Yeah, can we talk a bit about more
The
the I suppose
cinematography.
Yeah, I
yes,
wanted
all
to
that
talk
good
about
stuff.
his death and stuff like that.
I
Uh,
think
I really
um,
like the after when it does that wide shot of the black and white, almost like
Mhm.
the
the minimalist.
the
Yeah.
world of Remnant, and looking at it, it almost reminds me a little bit of the world of Remnant kind of style.
Yeah. No, so I'm a huge sucker for like minimalism and shocking moments. Uh,
Mhm.
that was great to see because it just
That was shocking
yeah, ha ha. And,
because we
yeah,
haven't seen that since Volume 3. We haven't seen an on-screen death since Volume 3.
Uh,
Nope. No. Wait. Never mind. I forgot about last volume.
no, there was Vernal and Adam.
Oh, yeah. I'm
yeah.
forgetting about all people.
Well, how did I forget
I forget
Adam?
about the last two volumes.
Especially
I
with how
forgot
much
about
we've
Adam.
talked about Adam Jello. Come on now.
I just forget about him.
Um, well, to be fair, Vernal is a very forgettable character.
Yeah.
I just keep forgetting about Adam.
Uh,
I'm
okay.
like, oh yeah, he's a part of the series.
But the minimalism is, I don't remember what that, I guess we'll call it minimalism, but I don't remember the official name of that technique. But I
Right.
really like that. I'm a huge sucker for that because it
Yes.
places such an emphasis of the shock on the scene, the dramatic and the drama. The I'm stuttering. Help! The drama of the scene,
Mm-hmm.
and it just kind of just shows the mental state of the character of how they pause and everything just slows to a crawl. And that,
Mhm.
um,
I
but
can't.
but it,
I can't imagine seeing the sword just covered in your friend's blood. How do you pick that thing back up?
yeah, no.
I'm not sure if you will. That's gonna be an interesting choice.
Yeah, no. And Crow might, you know, Crow's
Just
already
die.
struggled with, we've seen him struggle with some mental problems. So are we going to tack on PTSD to the list, or is he going to have like a trigger every
Yes.
time he looks at Harbinger? Because, people, that is a thing, triggers associated with certain objects.
Yeah.
Um,
We will have to see with that.
I also
Okay,
want to, oh, go on. I'm going to start ranting and raving about the cinematography again.
I was just about doing the same thing.
Go on. No, I love to hear people talk.
When after Tyrion makes the run off and Crow contemplates going after and comes back and he goes there to hang out with his Dan buddy. Just it's absolutely beautiful the scene they make, and I couldn't imagine even though it's terrible that he got stabbed, imagine dying there. That would be so cool. And the way it actually the lighting works well and you actually see the sky. Oh, and the
Yeah,
stars
no.
move. Oh no, it's snow. Never mind.
No.
Those are some fast moving stars.
It was a
Oh,
beautiful and gruesome scene all at the same time.
It was.
I feel a bit off about the tears of Ruby.
Tears of Ruby. When was this?
The way they do tears.
I think that's
I think that's just a limitation of the art style.
yeah.
That might be that makes sense.
Because there's a lot of limits to doing this in 3D.
And it does kind of make sense because when a real person cries, it is like a main line because they're blinking so much it does get to the edge of their eye and it goes down the line. But because if
Yeah.
they're not blinking consistently enough, it goes everywhere, so it's a bit of a mess.
Yeah.
But if they were just blinking back all the tears and stuff, it would just go to ends in line.
Today I learned.
So it does
Yeah.
work. because your tear ducts are actually like right by your nose, and as you blink, it moves along, and that's why it looks like you cry from that side.
Huh.
Also,
Interesting.
so many people are messing with the screen.
So
It's like
I got another little thing that I enjoyed, and that was just Tyrion's little tail push when Crow's stumbling.
Oh yeah.
It was a very I
No,
don't want to say cute because one should never describe Tyrion in such a way,
You're just like, oh,
but it was.
I- this is kind of also, a like we talked about last time, a fight of a technique versus tool.
Mm,
We saw in the Ruby versus Aesop's fight, there was a lot of semblance usage, a ton of semblance usage.
right.
This part, though, the only semblance usage we saw was from Tyrion's part where he tried to slice open,
Yes.
I believe it was Clover's aura.
Clover.
Yeah. And so, and this wasn't one of those big flashy fights. I'm a sucker for those. And I'm also a huge sucker for those that singular punch being shown from 3 different angles. I love that.
That brought a really good attention to that.
Oh, I love those.
Mhm.
But what I think that's all I have to say about this episode. I don't know
Clover
about you
smiled
guys.
in his final moments.
Yeah.
Yeah, normally I might do
what's gonna
predictions for the finale, but right now I'm
Honestly,
I'm ready to let it come and
Can't
hit.
picture it.
here's the thing about these Volume 7. Ruby, up to this point, has been, in my opinion, so I've only just started interacting with the fandom this volume.
Mm-hmm.
But
You missed some things.
I have missed quite a few things. I've missed a lot of controversy. But even before that, as I started watching, I've felt that Ruby has been extremely predictable in a way, in a manner. Like, I kind of could keep expecting what was happening, could always expect what was going to happen next.
Okay, I think I can see some of that. Just thinking about the finales.
This volume, I've had no idea what's going on episode to episode. I have wanted off this wild ride multiple times.
Now that you said that, I kind of want to go back and just rewatch our podcast episodes, hashtag shill, and see what we were thinking each time.
I kind of compare it. I think the best comparison I can think would be Endgame, Avengers Endgame, because I think it was like in the first 15 minutes of they killed Thanos, and you're
And
like,
they're like, well,
like
3 hours still.
what the fuck? We've still got 3 hours left. What is going to happen? So
They didn't win.
yeah, no. So I think that's just the best way I can describe it, because I've been on the edge of my seat the entire time, and I have no idea what to expect. I can make speculation, I can armchair things, but
You have no idea.
I have no idea. And I think that's been one of my favorite parts about this volume and why I've enjoyed it so much.
I gotta agree. I mean, I think there were a few episodes at the beginning, like maybe episode 3 or so, around that area, where I wasn't quite feeling that. But ever since all the political rally stuff started up, it has been nonstop. I don't have a clue what's going on.
And
Yeah,
that's
good way.
fair. Yeah, no. That was when things took a dive. So
Do you think
A
there'll
good
ever
time.
be a moment like a lot, like pretty much ever since volume 3 almost it seemed that there's like rare moments for characters just to interact. It's like always building off the conflict that's just like this ever growing thing. So do you think we'll ever get like just time where they are interacting?
Um, I think their interactions come with the plot. There
with
is
the plot.
as things go forward and they move forward, they will. I don't know how I'm just trying to describe, but I guess I'm kind of saying that it's hard to get that same Beacon-esque pace
Oh
anymore.
yeah, that's like not coming back.
Exactly.
Yeah, RWBY
The
has a
Beacon.
much higher production value now, so that's just you could do it if they want. RWBY could do it if they wanted to, but they'd upset a lot of people if they did.
Mhm.
And especially, I mean, this volume would be the one where you would be able to take a little time off and do that.
Which they had a little bit
However,
of that, and then as them being a huntress.
yeah.
Is-
Well,
Now then, I think we've just got about everything said that we've wanted to said. What
I believe
is
so.
what is everybody's overall thoughts on the episode, just in general? In one
I
or
very
two
much
words.
enjoyed it.
That's more than
It
one or two words.
One or
Me
two
like
words.
One or two words.
me like.
All right, RWBY. Oh,
I'm trying to admit it. I got it down to a sentence, but I can't put it down to 2 words. Mm,
Your challenge is a difficult one, Whiskey.
one sentence. How about that?
1 sentence. It's
Well, if I were to have a sentence, I'd
scarring.
say it's a.
Scarring but memorable. Like
there you go.
enjoy.
All right.
All right. Well, I enjoyed it. I didn't like it as much as episode 11, but it was.
That's not 2 words.
I said a sentence. Anyway. Now then,
All right.
Fine.
let's go ahead and wrap things up, shall we?
Move ahead. I don't like this. Move ahead. Move ahead.
Yep, go for it.
All right. So, thank you very much for tuning in. This has been the Cacawphony podcast with myself, Whiskey, the resident village idiot.
I am Jelo, and I still will not return to my job until Mr. Link pays me my corn.
And finally, we have
Candy corn. RWBY.
And
Hi, I'm
unfortunately, Glucose was not here, but they are still with us in spirit.
Rest in corn.
Feel free to join us on the server. There's going to be a link in the description. Come talk about RWBY, Fates, anything really in general. We do a lot of fan fiction and writing in general. Comfort talk. Comfort advice. We're all really friendly. Yeah. And
Except for that one guy.
yeah, that one guy is just that one guy, Whiskey. He's just so terrible. Do not listen to anything he says.
Except for when he tells you to go and join the Crow's Nest Discord.
Yeah, that's the only good advice he has.
Oh my goodness, the logo thing is an eyeball.
All right.
No way.
Thanks a bunch, everybody. And remember, stay hydrated. Bye-bye.